where does the ego live in the human body? It lives in the mind. In those thoughts, baby. And what is that, a death? Is that a death? And it's swords? And that's the ego mind? So what have we got? It's the death of the ego. Hey guys, just playing around here with the classic Celtic cross spread for myself. And I'm not going to get into it because it's personal, but I was very drawn in by this card, and I thought I would have a little chat with you guys about it. And as you can see, it is the dreaded, the Ten of Swords, and you can see why it's such a dreaded card. You know, it's all good. My spread ended pretty good, but I definitely want to take the time to talk about this Ten of Swords with you. So I will flip the camera around and let's have a little chat. So, the Ten of Swords. Genuinely, people think, like, if you look at this card to begin with, what are you thinking? Yeah? Let's not do the double chin angle here. What are you thinking? You're thinking, that looks like a man dead on the floor with 10 swords in his back, right? Yeah, you'll be right. But as a tarot reader, you would also know that the swords represent air, and the swords represent the mind. So, what are we getting? You know, with the swords, we're also looking at the first cycle, and with the 10, which I do need to get back to doing my numerology videos for you guys, but the 10 is the end of the cycle, you know, and you're going back to 1 after the 10. So that's not a great way to finish the end of the cycle, is it? But also with the swords, it's also the first of the 4 cycles. The cycles go swords, wands, cups, pentacles. So it's that, and you'll notice as well that as the cycles go on, they get better. The 10s get better. So the worst 10 is definitely the swords. The second worst 10 would be the wands. You know, the 10 of cups is amazing. It's a great card. And the 10 of pentacles is freaking awesome too, you know? So it gets better. The 10s get better as the cycles go on, you notice. So that first cycle complete, it cuts pretty deep here, and it literally cuts deep because there's not any other cards where the swords appears in the human. Like, you have the 3 of swords, which appears the heart, and it's a very similar kind of energy. The 3 of swords, the 10 of swords, the 5 of cups, you know, it's that painful energy. You're dealing with painful stuff. But if we are going to try and look at the 10 of swords in more of a positive light, yeah, because that's what I wanted to make this video about. How can you look at this card in more of a positive light? It's difficult. If you're going to look at the image alone, you could look at, okay, there's a black doomy sky over the top, but you do have, you know, you have the still sea, a nice calm sea. You have a sun, maybe that's yellow is the sun coming up. So there's hope in there. There's a new day dawning. If that is the sunrise, you know, if you take that yellow as the sunrise. A new day is dawning on this dark time. So what else happens in dark times? Because he's in a dark time, you know? He's got that dark, dooming black sky hanging over him. And you might just look at this and think, oh my God, somebody's going to stab me in the back. I'm going to get hurt. I'm going to get betrayed. I'm going to get done over. And you could take that as that. You could read it as that. But really, it shouldn't be read like that. In my opinion, this is my opinion, everyone, because I think everybody has their own connection, their own relationships with the cards. But when I see this, like, even a part of me is excited, because 10s are exciting. Whatever the 10, we need to embrace that, wow, I'm completing a cycle here. There's a complete cycle happening here in this spread. Yeah, and that is always something to celebrate, because it means you've gone through all of the different phases, all of the different paths from 1 to 10. You've got to this point. And this point, it might seem dark and gloomy, but it doesn't have to be. What is something that, if you notice with, for example, plants, when plants are in the darkness, they do the most of their growth. Think about that. When we are in our darkest points, like, if you think about a lot of people who have overcome things you can't even imagine overcoming, they've overcome losing, like, the death of a family member, of a child, people who have overcome, like, heroin addiction, people who have overcome losing everything they have materially, these are hard things for us as humans to deal with. These are dark times, dark, gloomy sky times, 10 swords in the back times, yeah? But what we end up doing in those times, if we don't give up on life altogether, we pull through and we grow as people. Just like that plant grows the most in the darkness. The most growth is done in the darkness, yeah? Pulling through these 10 of Swords times creates so much growth in your consciousness, which is all of our consciousness, because we are one, and what we do for ourselves, we're doing for everyone. And what we experiencing with other people, so if this is something you're experiencing with another person, because it's the 10 of Swords, and you might think, oh, this is meant to be about a relationship, or this is meant to be about my business and my business partner or something. I don't know, like, it could involve another person, but what we go through with others is divine. It is meant to be. It is here to help us, to help each other, because we are each other, if that makes sense. We are here to journey together. The swords, which is, again, remembering the swords represents the mind. The swords is thoughts, yeah? The sword is the first cycle of all the minor arcanas, in my opinion. This is my opinion, because I know not everyone agrees with this, but it's the first because it is the thought, and it's the first thing. You have to think something before you can create it or manifest it. We all know that's the first rule of the law of attraction, the law of Mother Gaia, the law of the earth we live on. You have to think it to create it. It is often overcoming something. The 10 of Swords is often us overcoming something that is in the mind, that is an inner battle that we've been harping on us for all this time, and it's like, wow, it's finally time to clear this. Something is going to happen that's just really going to push you to really clear that out. and really find that deeper connection with yourself and be able to grow from this pain. You need to experience this Ten of Swords for you to grow. For you know, we all have these different phases in our lives. It's a whole part of being human. You can't live your whole human existence, you know, I just use this, you know, 2 of Wands and 8 of Wands, just because these are in my spread already. These positive cards are great, and it's lovely to have them here in the spread. Or all hope and infinite love with the star. You know, these are great cards, and they're also energies that we experience while we're here and that we work through and help us grow, and we grow through. Like, I really feel like every experience is a teacher for us, and every person we meet is also a teacher, and we are also our own biggest teachers, but we're also just as much the students in these situations, you know. And what we can learn, we can rise up to that new day and be able to clear this, what's been hanging over us, this experience, this situation, whatever it might be. And with it being the swords, it's likely going to be some kind of mental thing, some kind of thought, some kind of and here, this is where we're going to move on to the ego, because where does the ego live in the human body? It lives in the mind, in those thoughts, baby. And what is that, a death? Is that a death? And it's swords? And that's the ego mind? So what have we got? It's the death of the ego. And that is fucking amazing. And that is, oh, what a relief. Because nobody likes the flipping ego, like making them doubt themselves, making them beating themselves up over things, pushing away new things, opportunities, pushing away things for you to experience and learn, because the ego always wants to stay safe. The ego always wants to keep you trapped and safe, like in that job you hate because it's safe. Like, the ego is what keeps you there. That in your head, that's what keeps you there. It's not spirit, because spirit is always trying to throw things at you, like, come on, like, but very quietly, because the ego is really loud in the head, but the spirit is in the head, but it's like quiet. And it's like, you know, it's more just like, oh, what about this, and what about that, and it like throws out these options to you gently, and the ego's just like, yeah, that looks great, that looks tempting, but it's not safe, eject, you know. And what we have here is the death of the ego, and if that's not a fucking blessing, I don't know what is. So there you have it. That is my positive representation of the Ten of Swords. And I will obviously go into the Ten of Swords more when I go into the tens altogether. But now I've done this video, I guess I won't need to go as deep. But tens are really cool, you know. But now I hope that when you get the Ten of Swords, you're not going to be so scared. And whatever the question, whatever the situation, having a death of the ego is a fucking blessing, alright? Excuse my language. But, you know, this, I think the language is called for when we're talking about a guy with 10 swords in his back, you know? Because this card's real shit, you know? This card's real hard energy, and it hits us pretty hard. I know a lot of people, when they get this card, it's just like, oh my god, like, why? That's why, because it's time to call quits on that guy up there in the swords, yeah? So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and